it seemed like you acquired this brand. Like, did you build this straight from scratch, or what's going on?
So yeah, I acquired the brand, and was able to kind of see like the issues that kind of popped up when they were doing their running their business model thesis, and kind of my takeaway was the move to more of like a financial wellness slash marketing platform for for these different like financial services entities. So
welcome everybody back to another exciting show of the About That Water podcast, where we help you build strong financial habits. I'm your host, Anthony Weaver, and I have the awesome opportunity to bring on Sam Ingrassia, who has interviewed well over 100 financial advisors and coaches, and not just interview them, but actually have deep conversations about what's going on in their lives and what are the pain points that they have in their day to day. And this is what we plan on talking about today. So you guys, if you haven't one of those things going through, this is the episode for you. So how you doing today, Sam?
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Anthony. Appreciate it.
No problem. I mean, you've been doing this for like 100. I usually try to say like 100 is like that max number or that sweet number to kind of say like, you know what, I think I got it. So what got you into like dealing with 100 people?
Oh man. So yeah, booting up a company puts a little bit of fire underneath you to kind of get things going. And I needed to start talking to my prospective customers. So basically what I did is try to figure out a way to get those conversations kind of ramped up, and slowly but surely kind of chipped away at finding things that resonated with them and get them like on the phone. So we started reaching out, doing like cold email more or less, testing out different like value propositions when we in each one of the different emails that we sent, and started getting like a kind of a rhythm together, and similar to like some of the stuff that you're working on with podcasting, I'm doing interviews as well, basically structuring them, trying to systematize them and that type of thing to gather consistent information from those calls. So yeah,
because your company is Budget Simple, and you came up with this concept for Budget Simple. You would think everybody would be coming to you from a financial standpoint. It was like, hey, budgeting is what we do. So why was this important to you to have these interviews?
Yeah, so where we kind of started was as like a budgeting piece of budgeting software. We actually competed with Mint originally. This is a little longer answer, but yeah, we started out as a budgeting app. We competed with Mint, and what we kind of recognized is that a lot of the people who were using the software were having trouble. They were dropping off. They weren't actually like reaching their goals and that type of thing. And what we recognized is that there was actually coaches who were using the software on behalf of their clients. And we kind of plugged into that. And then from there, it kind of like expanded out. So we recognized that there's budgeting, features and financial literacy features that, would work for both financial advisors, financial counselors, financial coaches. And we sort of like riffed on that. And basically, when I kind of recognized that opened the door to kind of reaching out to these other users, not just like consumer users, basically, and started pulling on those threads. So what we found is that there's a huge challenge with marketing on the coaching and financial advisor side. One of the main things there is they don't want to do the marketing. It's pretty cumbersome. If you can imagine, like you're in a service business, you're dealing with people's money, either like in a crisis situation or someone's retirement. It's just like a headspace that they don't want to get into. So we found that sort of as a key component. And then on the coaching side, what really resonated was, kind of figuring out a way to build a sustainable business that allowed for like recurring income effectively.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing that kind of resonated that our software sort of facilitates basically. But yeah.
Yeah, because it's one of the things that's interesting is like, yeah, we have a brand and we need to make money too. So, and I like that you are approaching people in a different way to not just get money, but also how to get residual income based on the knowledge that they have and based on the resources that are available to them. It seemed like you acquired this brand. Like, did you build this straight from scratch, or what's going on?
Yeah, that's a longer story too, but I'll give you the quick one. Yeah, so this Budget Simple was originally like a venture-backed startup. So someone had built it and was like right around the time that like Mint kind of booted up, and the functionality where you were able to kind of start ingesting like transactions from bank accounts. There was this moment where a bunch of different budgeting platforms kind of booted up. Mint was the biggest one. And I would say like Budget Simple was actually number three at one point. It had about like 250,000 users and was really ramped up. What ended up happening is it went up on a broker site, and I saw it and really liked what like the momentum that the brand had. But obviously, it had some like business model issues, and someone actually bought it, and then I reached out to the person who bought it from the original founder. So yeah, I acquired the brand, and was able to kind of see like the issues that kind of popped up when they were doing their running their business model thesis, and kind of my takeaway was the move to more of like a financial wellness slash marketing platform for for these different like financial services entities. So yeah, we kind of flipped it on its head so that you actually become the you have your own mint.com as a coach, or you have your own financial wellness platform as a financial advisor, versus sending your clients over to some random brand, not having control over it. So that ended up resonating a lot with both the clients because they get to stay with their advisor or with their counselor, and then it also allows for the advisor or the coach to like monetize it. I.e., instead of sending somebody over to mint.com or to You Need a Budget and paying the recurring subscription fee to them, the coach is actually able to tap into that. The other small piece that I'll just kind of mention too is you can get started with a coach, with a subscription without kind of kicking off like a one-on-one conversation. So that was the other benefit. But anyways, there's the long short story around the acquisition piece. So
yeah, because I mean, sometimes people think that we should just start from scratch. And that's one of the things I did. I didn't go acquire another podcast and be like, let me be the face of this podcast and take over these episodes and downloads and everything like that. And then think about it, I could have done that. But hey, I learned a lot doing it on my own. So, because I want to get back to the 100 advisors, like some insights and everything like that. But I'm really curious because this might have to be a whole nother episode, which is like, did you come up with the funding yourself, or like how did you find the funding? Because you seem kind of young. Like most time you think when people own these big businesses, like they're a little older.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm glad you kind of answered that or asked that. So I had a couple other businesses that I've been running on the side, and so I was looking for new things to kind of dive into. My other businesses are mostly like marketing services businesses, and so that's what I was kind of like focused in on. But my wife and I basically made them almost 100% passive. So while those were sort of running, I was able to kind of be on the lookout. The other takeaway from that I learned from that was informative from like a business perspective is a lot of like service businesses are harder to sell, just because they don't have like an asset. It's just the people and like, the output basically.
Mhm.
So with Budget Simple specifically, I was looking to kind of build something that was an asset. So that was one of the motivations for kind of buying it. But yeah, that was kind of the headspace that I was in, and I'm still in basically around
Yeah.
the
So, so
investment.
how did you acquire the finances to purchase this one, or was it like one of those seller finance deals?
It was it was without it. No, I purchased it outright and I
Oh, nice.
financed it for my other businesses. Yeah. So
Wow.
we don't
Okay.
have any investors, and yeah, basically from the cash flows from the other businesses. So
All right. Yeah, we're gonna have to have you back on just to kind of dig into those numbers because I'm curious. Because a lot of people out there who was like, yeah, I would like to purchase a business, like getting the finances outright. And this is something that we do talk about on the show is utilizing your assets to buy you more assets. And this is a perfect example of having such a hands-off approach to acquiring other businesses. Man, that is great. But we got
I
coming.
don't want to make that sound easy, by the way, because
Oh no.
it's pretty nerve wracking, to be honest with you. And then the other thing I'll tell you, and I can riff on this for a while on the business acquisition stuff. I've done a bunch of small ones, and done a bunch of smaller deals before that, and but the the risk was because it was so low. It kind of informed like this purchase. The other thing that I would say too is that uh, I out of all the deals that I've seen, like other people do, and just being involved in like the broker and acquisition, under the 1 million, five to 1 million range roughly. Um, there's a lot of failure, there's a huge graveyard there, and like not making it work, and people throwing their retirements at it and stuff like this. So it's a lot of like risk mitigation basically when you're doing those types of deals. But yeah, I could rant on that for a while, but yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bring you back for that one because I definitely want to dig into those numbers because I never thought about 5 to 1 million. It's quite a bit a chunk of change to not sneeze at, and you really want to make it work, especially for that type of price of acquisition. So, but back to these 100 folks, what are the key lessons or insights that you learned from these advisors that when you reached out to on just how to grow their business?
Yeah, I would say, kind of going back to the marketing piece, just kind of, just to kind of give you like what I was doing on a regular basis, which is basically looking at everybody's websites, seeing how they were interacting with their prospective clients and that type of thing, how they communicated their credibility, and then just like basic stuff. Do they have like, normal or like, best practice SEO kind of implemented? And there was just a lot of gaps there and a lot of like opportunity that was kind of missing. The other, and I was able to, when I kind of spoke to some of these things, I'd get like, kind of weird looks because they weren't even kind of thinking about it. So there was definitely like a huge gap on the marketing piece. The other thing too is they didn't really know where to start. A lot of people when they're booting up like marketing, just in general, even outside the coaching and advising space, it's overwhelming because there's Facebook, email, Google, Google SEO, paid search, everything under the sun, and it's just kind of tricky to kind of figure that out. And so, just giving them like kind of free feedback in a lot of ways was instructive to like how I calibrated, how I got into those conversations. So that was a huge takeaway. The other thing I would say too is just because of the overwhelming, amount of work on the client side, um, there was a huge opportunity on the practice management piece. So that was kind of super instructive. I talked to a coach like a month ago who I really respect and like, primarily because of how he like interacted with his community. He gave away a lot of his own time and that type of thing. in his retirement. And what I found was that he was putting like for every hour of like conversation, he was putting like 2 hours of practice management or like prep into it. And so that was instructive on some of the things that were, there was not a standard operating procedure to kind of riff on for the AFC's accredited financial counselors. The financial advisors have a lot of practice management solutions already kind of in place and workflows, but there was still like a lot to be desired because of the age gap and like technology gap stuff, meaning like they hadn't adopted technology because it wasn't like part of what they grew up on. So that was a huge takeaway. Just kind of seeing the practice management piece. And then I'd say like kind of the third piece, just in general as like a consumer, because I don't come from finance, although I've like studied it for like the past 7 years. But the wealth management industry and the, financial crisis segment of like the financial journey, getting out of debt, getting an emergency fund, the coaching segment in general. Kind of the thing, my main takeaway there was that the business models are sort of, kind of floating around and don't serve a lot of both the client and the advisor or the coach in a lot of ways. And what I saw was like, this one-on-one model at a high rate, but then you have people who can't afford that rate and never get what they need. And a lot of the on the crisis end of things, they are just needing like a 30, 45-minute conversation to kind of get them unhooked from the issue that they're on. And then they potentially need an accountability component to it. On the financial advisor side, they have an issue where they're doing a bunch of planning up front for that first year and then everybody cancels afterwards, basically. So it doesn't really like serve them either. So there's definitely like a business model issue there. And I see a lot of and it's different for both sides, but they just happen to be, kind of related. So there's definitely like a business model issue. And so we try to address that too on like a subscription basis, and making that like easy to kind of implement for both the coaches and the advisors. A lot of people want to be able to purchase services the way that they would purchase Netflix, sign up, enter their credit card and cancel whenever they're kind of done with it.
Yep.
But that opportunity to kind of get engaged basically, and then progress the client as they are ready to be progressed is kind of an important thing versus landing on somebody's website, filling out their Calendly, and then, maybe you're not ready to do that, for the accountability component, or maybe you want to kind of learn some more about what you don't know before you kind of get started. And that whole like kind of gap is like unaddressed basically, in the marketplace. The other thing I would say too is like on the advice side for the financial advisors, a lot of the financial advisors want to give advice and be more like coaches in a lot of ways, but be able to speak to topics that a coach wouldn't be able to speak to. And there's not really a good way to do that outside of working within a comprehensive financial plan. So there's there's a huge gap there on the business model, or it's at the very least it's in flux. So yeah.
Yeah. So, because one of the things you talked about was marketing. Have you found out any platform was better for anybody, or if they already own a platform, what are like the 2 or 3 things that somebody can do like right now to kind of help with their marketing on that particular platform?
Yeah, it always comes down to like where they're at in their marketing plan. So, platform recommendations I would make, this maybe not a particular piece of software, but just like how to position yourself. If you do have a website and you are writing content and you don't have like a way to capture email, that's like a core thing to focus in on. The main thing I would say there is that you're building all this content. If you're building content on like TikTok or Instagram, or Twitter, and you're not capturing the email, you're basically doing all the work but never being able to own your audience. And I see a lot of that going on. And we work with like an Instagram, personal finance influencer that has like 500,000 followers, and she didn't have it implemented into her like funnel basically, and that was like a huge gap. Just imagine if her account got turned off, she wouldn't be able to like email her new users to even let them know, hey, I booted up a new account or whatever. So that's a key issue that I kind of see, that not like platform specific, but owning your email list is important. So
Okay, then yeah, that's one of the things that I'm trying to work on as well. So if you guys are listening to this right now, you can actually go to aboutthatwallet.com/newsletter and get part of this About That Wallet monthly newsletter. We'll talk about this stuff.
Love that.
Yeah. Shameless plug. But so we got some actions that we can take away from right now, which is kind of at least capture the email list and get the people off these platforms. As they say, do not build a platform on sand. Try to build it on granite or something like that, because you know how it is on sand. So I do want to move forward on to, if you can just kind of do one quick, like maybe two takeaways to kind of say like what separates those who make it and those who don't, like maybe like two things that people can kind of take away from all of this.
Yeah, I would say, just like general takeaways you thinking, or in regards to on the coaching side.
Just from the coaching side, because so for us as who are doing the services, and you mentioned it earlier that services are one of the things that is the hardest to kind of grow and maintain. But because you had these conversations, what are like the two things that people do to kind of separate themselves from the rest that you've seen have been successful?
Yeah, I'd say there's this like concept of like a flywheel that I riff on and I actually implement in my businesses, in my like daily life. And the main thing I would say there is, you have any of the byproducts from all the actions that you do on a daily basis. If you're able to, kind of tie that back into something that keeps the momentum going on in your business, I think that's important. And what I see is a lot of, kind of hitting a wall. You're doing all this work to kind of build something. As an example, with some of the coaches that I work with, they're putting out a lot of content. They're not capturing the email. That's an example of like extending your flywheel out. So now you're building all this content. Now you build your email list, and you can send an email, and then you're able to take some value from that, which is promoting your services and that type of thing. So kind of continuous improvement around the flywheel piece. That's a huge takeaway. The other piece that I would say is using like leverage in your business. So one of the things that I kind of speak to that relates to the Budget Simple platform, we implement and we put money towards this because it's a goal to be kind of like solved, is the the focus on creating. One of my personal goals is to get as many people full-time on their businesses as possible, because a lot of coaches specifically, they're not full-time in their businesses. So one of the things that I kind of preach is basically building enough value in your business so that someone is willing to pay you on a recurring basis for that value. And that opens up a lot of doors for coaches. You still have your one-on-one business, but you have your recurring revenue kind of coming in. It doesn't require you to reacquire a customer every month or every year. And that kind of changes the dynamics of the business, makes the business more sustainable and economical for the coach, and then they can improve their services and help more people. So that leverage component around, finding a self-serve or digital product or subscription type of model, it has the ability to give you additional leverage within your business, especially if you're building building out content. Plugging in something that allows you to kind of monetize that content, it creates a different dynamic in the business. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, because I mean, I could use some of that advice as well, as I'm going through and I've been doing this for quite some time. And, the cool thing about it is like I have steady, listeners and steady supporters. But one of the things is my goal this year is to try to branch that out and try to give more, but also add value, and then also bring in more income to kind of so I could continue to do what I want to do. And I think that's the ultimate goal that all of us who provide services to the community want to continue to do, and not just provide a product, but because services, as you already mentioned, is we don't have hard assets. It's one of those like, hey, we help you get to that next level in your life. Which brings up to the third segment, which is what habits or skills that you feel will take you personally to that next level. And you can talk about the business too, but I just want to get to so the audience can know a little bit more about you. So what are the skills and habits that will take you to that next level?
Yeah, I've been trying to be a lot more consistent just in general. Um, I come from an engineering background, so a little bit of a different headspace than like interacting with people on a regular basis. But I've found that it's been helpful to be like more consistent about like interacting, but also going back to kind of the flywheel thing. Obviously, we're implementing that into our business, so constantly on the lookout for ways to extend, every little interaction to provide value. And then I, kind of focus in on like creating more value than I capture type of headspace. So I'm always on the lookout out for opportunities there, making connections between people, but also, just all the way down to like giving like, marketing advice, in random
Nice.
conversations. But yeah, I've been focused on the consistency piece. I think that and continuous improvement is super helpful.
Before we move on, is there anything else you want to leave the audience before we move on to the final four questions?
Yeah, if anybody has any questions about marketing related to their financial services businesses, I'm always open to having a conversation. You can kind of reach me at Sam at Budget Simple, and I respond crazy quick, so you might get a reply quicker than you realize. I try to be super responsive. That's one of the other things that I try to do as well. But yeah,
Awesome. All right, you ready for the final four questions?
yes, sir.
All righty. Number one, what does wealth mean to you?
Oh man, that one's pretty easy. It's always time, having owning your time.
Mhm.
That's I learned that early on. So yeah, owning your time and what you're working on and what you're doing, and having it all kind of aligned. So that's definitely wealth to me is ownership of time.
Number two, what was your worst money mistake?
Yeah, that one's easy too. I would say probably not buying a house earlier. I would say not taking advantage of like the low interest rate, like, over the past like 15 years, like leaning into that more. Although like kind of, building business and stuff like that is super risky. Um, the it seemed super risky at the time to buy a bunch of, assets at low interest rates. But now in retrospect, it seems like it was probably a good idea, at least up into pre-pandemic. But yeah, I would say not buying a house.
Nice. Number three, what was your favorite financial or non-financial book?
Um, I would say actually, right now I'm reading this book called Operation Paperclip. I haven't really spent any time reading about World War II, but um, yeah, it's been super interesting, and it's quickly becoming like one of my favorite books. I like to read that stuff outside of business, just to learn new things outside of the business world. So yeah, I've been really um, enjoying that book. The history. It's about like how it's about World War II, like nuclear. Um, how they basically got some of the scientists from Nazi Germany over to the United States. So yeah, it's really super interesting.
Yeah, I've heard about that book, but I haven't picked it up yet. So yeah, you gotta let me know how that turned out once you're done.
Yeah, without a doubt.
All right. Number 4. What was your favorite dish to make and to eat?
Oh man, I make a fair amount of basic Italian food on a regular basis. So, my wife really loves my sauce and eggplant parmesan. So I probably stick to those two.
I'm sorry. You say your wife likes your sauce.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Too early in the morning. Instead of eggplant. Okay. And then what food do you like to eat?
I stick to Italian food, but I love Asian food. I love sushi and all kinds of different types of fish and that type of thing. Kind of stick to those. But yeah.
Thanks. Alrighty. Well, I mean, Sam, this has been such a great episode, and I really enjoyed your time today, talking about everything that you've been going on, dealing with budgetsimple.com, how you've able to acquire it, maintain it, and continue to grow the business, and actually help other financial services such as myself to continue to add value to the community. And for those of you who know anybody that could utilize such a service, or if you even just want to catch up with Sam, please make sure y'all check him out. But this is where the final question of the show is: where could people find out more about you?
Yeah, definitely check out budgetsimple.com. We spent a lot of time building out the content there, so you can kind of figure out the different use cases and features that we have available. So feel free to check out budgetsimple.com. And then if you have any, like I mentioned earlier, my email's super open. So Sam at budgetsimple, feel free to reach out even if you're outside of the financial services industry. I'm definitely always looking to be helpful, unlock some of those marketing issues. So yeah.
All right. Thank you so much again, Sam. It's been a pleasure having you on. All right.
Thanks a lot, Anthony.
No problem. Thank you. Y'all have a good one. We out. Peace.